my name is Danica and today I have a book haul for you. So last week I was in New York for Book Riot Live. It was amazing and I had an awesome time there, and I spent some time just wandering New York and going to bookstores and checking out vegan restaurants, and it was really great, and I brought back a lot more books than I meant to, considering that I didn't have much room in my suitcase, but I thought I would show off the ones that I did get. First, I have a couple of things that aren't from New York but were here when I got back. First is Meaty Yogurt Volume 1 by Megan Rose Gudries. I love her art and I got it signed. She is a webcomic artist I've been following for many years. She actually did the artwork on the banner of the Lesbury. I also got this awesome shirt from You and Me Dream, which was her first webcomic, and I love it. It's so pretty. Now I'll get into some of the books that I picked up in New York and at Book Riot Live. One of the bookstores that I went to was Blue Stockings, which is a great feminist bookstore, so I needed to pick up something while I was there. I picked up Octavia's Brood. This is science fiction stories from social justice movements, and I have been meaning to read this for a while, and it seemed really fitting to get this from Blue Stockings. I also went to Midtown Comics. I've been reading a lot more comics lately. I haven't really been talking about them on this channel, partly because I haven't been reading a lot of diverse comics and I've been trying to make this channel more diverse, but I thought I would show you the ones that I picked up in New York. New Gem and the Holograms. I've been following this series and I love it. The art is by Sophie Campbell, who is a fantastic trans artist, and all of the characters are really amazingly drawn. I hadn't seen the Gem and the Holograms cartoon when I started reading this, and it still really works for me. I actually went back and watched some of the cartoon just because of this comic. I love the artwork and I love the characters, and I'm really looking forward to continuing with this series. And I picked up issues 3 and 4 in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. This is a comic about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but as a horror comic, and it's really dark and absolutely great. I loved Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the show, so I was really excited to see this super dark take on it. And the art and the story are both super creepy, so if you're interested in that, I would definitely recommend checking these out. I also got the first issue of Niobe, She Is Life. This is by Amanda Stenberg, which is why I picked it up. I'm intrigued by the first issue, and I'm interested to see where it'll go. I also picked up the first 2 issues of Paper Girls, and these were probably my favorite that I just picked up. It's a great adventure story around preteen girls, and it's super interesting so far. This just has a really solid plot that's got me sucked in. I also picked up the second issue of Survivor's Club. This one I was intrigued by the first issue, but I felt like it was missing a little something. It was more like preamble, so I picked up the second issue hoping that it would get a little more in-depth, but I felt the same way about this one, like it's just starting and there's not a lot to dig into yet, and most of the other series that I've started have really gripped me by the second issue, so I don't think I'm going to be continuing with this. This is about a group of people who have survived various tragedies in their life, like kind of 80s horror movie type tragedies, and it's interesting as a premise, but so far I feel like it doesn't quite live up to it. Another one I picked up just for the premise is Unfollow, and it's about a billionaire, I think, who leaves all of his money to 140 people connected by this social network, but it's split evenly between all of them, so they are all sent to this island, and basically whoever survives, it'll be split between them. And that sounded fascinating to me. I'm super into like stranded on an island together type stories. That's just one of the stories that always piques my attention, and just from the first issue I am already into this. I really want to see how this turns out. Those were all the ones that I got from Midtown Comics. I also went to the Strand Bookstore 2 times. There were 2 cocktail hours with Book Riot Live, and I actually ended up going to both. And of course, while I was there, I picked up some books. 2 of them I found on the kind of $1, $2 racks outside. One is Silent Heart by Clara McNabb, which looks like just a great trashy lesbian romance. It's about a professor who is an expert at Victorian erotica, and she writes kind of a literary text about it that becomes a surprise bestseller, and then she is interviewed by this journalist who pushes all her buttons, and, you know, I think we know how it'll turn out. I got that one for $1, and then I also found Baby Precious Always Shines, which is love letters between Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas, and that one I got for $2. And they also had a rack of pulp fiction. I love lesbian pulp fiction. I try to collect it. I don't have a lot right now, but I'm working on it. The first time I was there, I found one on the rack. I looked through the entire rack. And then the next night, when I went to the second cocktail hour, I wasn't going to check, but my friends were like, "Oh, what's this?" and pulled out 2 more that I guess have been put on that day. The Loving and the Daring by Francois Mallet. This is a compelling novel of secret love. I just like these because they are ridiculous looking. Who knows if I'll even read them, but they just make me laugh looking at them. And Sex Behavior of the Lesbian, as well as Lesbianism Around the World, and this one looks especially entertaining because it's literally what lesbians are like in different countries. Like some of the titles: Torrid Tropics, Sapphist Smorgasbord, Canadian Capers. So I think I'll probably have to actually read this because it looks super entertaining. The last thing I got at the Strand is not a book, but I love it. It's a little patch that says "Please don't be straight." And then I got a couple of books at Book Riot itself. One is Grounded, The Adventures of Rapunzel by Megan Morrison, and I am always interested in fairy tale retelling, so I picked up this. This was being given away at one of the podcast recordings. It also has a blurb from Melissa Anelli, so that's definitely interested me. And then there was the Harry Potter Alliance's Apparating Library, where if you bring a book to trade in one day, you could grab a book the next day. And I got 2 from there. The first day you just dropped off books, and at the end of the day I looked over and I saw a book in the stacks and I was like, that's the one. That's the one I have to get. But I know I'll have to get here first to make sure that I snag it before anyone else does. So the next day I got to Book Riot Live basically the moment it opened just to get this book. And that's Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. And it's kind of funny that I would be so eager to get this because I was not planning on buying it. I didn't even have it on hold. But I'm really interested to read it. I'm not the hugest fan of Rainbow Rowell's writing, but I loved Drary when I was a kid, so I'm really interested to see this sort of fan fiction of fan fiction as novel. And it is queer, so that's always putting it kind of on my list. It is pretty too. It has these great map end papers. And another one I've actually been meaning to read is another graphic novel, Witches Volume 1. So I'm actually really happy that these were the 2 that I had picked out of the library. And those were all the books that I got in New York. Let me know if any of you were at Book Riot Live. I had just an awesome time. It was so nice to meet a bunch of the book rioters, and just the environment was awesome. They're probably going to be doing another one next year, and I definitely recommend that you check it out if they do, because it was such a friendly environment, and they had reading lounges. It was the most introvert friendly of conventions. It was just very kind as an event, and also had super interesting panels. There was a Writing the Rainbow panel. It gave me a lot to think about. Just the people there were so great to hang out with. So that's all I have for now, and thank you for watching.